Welcome. Welcome to the Brand Identity Design podcast. My name is Jason, and I am a designer by profession. I also do podcasting. So, thank you so much for your love and support. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and Clubhouse as we speak. Thank you for being here. So, we are officially going to start season 3, and this is my first episode of season 3. We're going to be speaking about niching and positioning. Unfortunately, my guest had a last minute cancellation, so she does send her apologies to all my listeners. She would not be joining in for today's show. But I have a few things planned out. So the very first thing which we are going to do is discuss about niching and positioning, and post that we're going to chill out and just give you a little premise of how the shows are going to be structured in the future, how things are going to be, the changes which I have implemented on the season 3 of this podcast, stuff like that. So thank you so much, guys, for your love and support. I want to personally thank Melissa, Anthony, Cindy Lou, and Mark. I think Mark is listening on both platforms simultaneously. Mark, thank you. So glad to be here. So the first thing which I want to brief you guys about the guest, Anneli Hansson. So I want to actually give my appreciation to Anneli for accepting my invitation initially, although she could not make it. So if you don't know who Anneli Hansson is, she's an entrepreneur, educator, and also a brand strategist from Stockholm, Sweden. She's an award winning brand strategist. She has around 20 plus years of experience in brand strategy, design thinking, marketing. And she also has a very unique positioning in the marketplace. She bridges the gap between creative professionals and businesses. Because creative guys, do not really have a fair understanding of a business. There's always this gap, so she tries to bridge that gap. And I have actually personally learned a lot from Anneli, and that's one of the reason I wanted to have her on board, because she has been in positions like a CBO, which is a chief brand officer. She's also worked as a chief marketing officer for a multi-billion dollar company in Europe called Lantmännen. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This company has been awarded as the most sustainable brand in Sweden in 2014 and 2019. Not only that, she also worked with brands like Coca-Cola, Levi's, Polaroid, John Deere, and even Volvo. A lot of amazing companies. So thank you so much. So that was actually information about my guest. So let's actually deep dive into our conversation. I want to actually just invite a few of my friends, because since we don't have my guests, we're going to be having just a conversation, collective conversation with one another. So the first thing which I want to do is, I want to actually speak about what is niching down. Okay, now see, I'm not really a niching expert, guys, so don't hold me accountable for this. This is based on my background and my knowledge as a designer as to what I feel niching down means. Now, niching, it can feel very counterintuitive, not counteractive, counterintuitive, because at first, when we think of scaling down instead of scaling upward, this actually does not leave people in a very comfortable position. Okay, now what is actually a niche? A niche, in marketing sense, it refers to, refers to a market segment or a place in the market your product or service specifically targets. And I know that this sounds a little complex. I really like what Anneli has as a definition for niching. According to Anneli, she says, niching is finding a small segment of a larger market so that you can understand their needs and wants. I love this explanation quite a lot, because I think it is easy, simple to understand. Now, what are some of the benefits of niching? See, what it does is that rather than trying to be all the things to all people, a narrow focus, helps you to fine tune your brand, leave you as a better positioned business for financial success. I don't know if you guys remember, but there is a lovely video by Simon Sinek, and he speaks about the law of diffusion of innovation, and he actually gets into pretty detail as to how the market is categorized into 5 segments. Early adopters and innovators, then early majority, late majority, and laggards. I'm going to actually briefly play that clip by Simon Sinek, and we're going to continue this conversation further. Okay, I had a little technical glitch there, so I'm just going to restart the audio clip again.
Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on the scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they love to tell you, oh, it's about 10%, proudly. Well, you can trip over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap, that you have to close, as Geoffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat-screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people will do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours, or stood in line for 6 hours, was because of what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So
Okay, so that's a 2-minute clip. You can actually find this on YouTube as well. I would have all the links to whatever we are discussing, important links on my show notes. So thank you so much, guys, for joining our conversation. I would, really appreciate if you guys can share this space on Clubhouse or LinkedIn, invite more people to join our conversation. Okay, so we're going to be speaking about niching and positioning. Okay, so as you understand from the conversation, from what you heard in the video by Simon Sinek, he speaks about how the market is categorized into different segments, and acquiring a larger chunk of that market is really hard. Not only in terms of opportunity, marketing costs, advertisement costs. Acquiring such a large group of audience is next to impossible, and that's the reason why the law of diffusion of innovation really states that you should target on early adopters and innovators. It's very similar to niching. Because niching also does the same thing. You have a smaller target market to work with. What you do is, when you transition to a more specialized approach for this industry, ultimately you would be more equipped to understand their needs, wants, able to tailor-made a solution for them. And not only that, in the process, your clients have a better retention. You have a better retention with your clients. You will spend less in terms of publicizing or creating collaterals. Word of mouth publicity is highly is really high when you do all these things. So generally, when you do niching, there are certain market standards. There are certain parameters. It is divided into. We have demographics being one. Demographics includes age, gender, or income. Then you have location. It can be international or national, or even focused on a specific area in a certain region. Then you have price. Is it like a necessity item, or is it a luxury item? And then you have psychographics. it can be based on personal interests, preferences or values. So this is how a market can be divided. Many factors, which involve here. When you actually create customer personas or buyer persona, basically, you segment them as per demographics, location, psychographics, needs, wants. Some professionals, some marketers also do empathy maps as well. That's also another approach we can go ahead with. Some of the other key benefits of niching is that it offers an enhanced customer relationship. It brings brand loyalty. You severely cut down on your competition because you're focused specifically on a given problem, offering solution. It helps you to have greater trust and credibility overall. Now your network, in the process of while you're actually building up your network and building more momentum, what you realize is that you will have people who fall under the same interest as you to be connected to you. So for example, when you build communities over LinkedIn or Facebook, okay, you would end up acquiring, and people who follow you would also have a similar interest. So your network will become much more strong, and it is very focused on a specific deliverable. Your marketing message would have a higher reach and higher engagement with the target audience you're trying to target and resolve. You pave the way that makes you like an industry expert during the process, because the more focused you are, what you do is in order, you would emphasize on your skills. You will try to learn more and more things to better do this project or execute this project, and you'll enjoy the process. And in the due process of enhancing yourself and educating yourself more, you have a much more a better understanding of how the market is, or this specific market you're trying to cater to. So if tomorrow, if anybody wants to have you on a speaking engagement, you are automatically position yourself as an industry go-to expert. Another thing which I have also noticed is that the more you niche down, the more you specialize, your efficiency also improves. Because imagine if you have to relentlessly do one thing over and over again for an extended duration, what it does is that it just makes it, the process even better. You have a standard operating procedure in mind. You know what are the components you need to focus on. So as you grow, your efficiency and automation process also improves. And needless to say that because you're specifically resolving a specific problem in the market, it also increases profitability because you can demand a higher price for your expertise. Now, things which you have to do while niching down is to focus on your strength specifically. Now, as a designer, I was forced when I initially started my education. I was forced to actually acquire a lot of skills, which include visual effects, motion design, graphics in general, identity design, and many other areas. People wanted me to acquire. I just find it very stupid that how can you actually be good and be the best at all these deliverables? It's next to impossible. So what I did is that as a business, I focused on my core strengths. So I was very fascinated with identity design. So that's the area which I specialized in. Hence you see the name of my show, brand identity design. That's what I am skilled. I'm specifically communicating a very specific message to a specific target audience, and it just helps. What it also does is that you're able to deliver a higher quality as a result. Your clients are more satisfied, leading to more referrals. You have repeat business opportunities, not only from existing clients but also from newer prospect. Your clients would end up referring people with similar interests to you, and and you have the ability to charge more. Like I said before. Now, finding the right niche or a sub niche is not easy because not all of them are equal. Because evaluating that your brand, while you're building up your brand, you do have your strength, you also have your weaknesses. You also need to identify the gaps in the market. Okay. And you also need to ensure that the market is sizable enough to reach. those potential audience and profit from them. I think this is the aspect which many entrepreneurs don't really focus on, because we think it's all about niching down, narrowing down. If the market is not really large enough and you can't make a profit out of it, it's pointless to have that niche. So you need to study that in detail. Okay, I'm gonna eventually stop my rant. Okay, I have a few notes left, about niching down and positioning. So I'm just gonna finish that, and we will open the room so that we can not ask me questions, but we can just have continue this conversation a little further, and you guys can share your thoughts, and I can share mine. So how to niche down? The best way, I think classical marketing explains niching down with a process called STP. Okay, now STP stands for segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Now, segmentation means identifying your customers and their needs. Targeting, pretty straightforward, focused on a particular group or groups. Seth Godin, he's a marketer and an author. And his book, he speaks about minimum viable audience (MVA). Okay, that's targeting. And positioning is how you position your brand in the target in your target customer's mind. How you make yourself different from your competitors. Even better, how you make your competition completely irrelevant. Okay, now while you're actually doing the classification, with segmentation, targeting, and positioning, it has to be measurable. That means the first thing which you want to do is find out the number of people who fall under this segment. Second, you want to make sure that you identify if we can access them. What is the point in having a market segment if you can't talk and interact with them to find out more information? So it has to be an accessible market. The third thing, it has to be very, very substantial. That means it should be significant enough in terms of volume so that you can monetize from it. Like I said before, it has to be substantial enough to profit from them. Another thing is that it has to be aligned. That means your niche has to resonate with your brand values. Whatever you're trying to build, okay, if it is not in conjunction to what your beliefs are, it's pointless to have that niche. You probably may want to try something else. So if there is any dissonance, then I think it's better to look for another segment. Now, how can you find your niche? Very simple. What you can do is you can start with a simple search on Google. You can start from Wikipedia. It's a good way of identifying your niche. You can also look at Google Trends, do a bit of industry research. Google Trend data is very, very crucial. I have suggested a lot of my clients to actually work on this. It gives you in depth analysis not only geographically, but also gives you what kind of keyword or search term was used for this specific trend in a period of, let's say, 30 days, 60 days, 90, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or 5 years, whatever. You can segregate it down, however you want, and you can get more precise information. Industry research is good. Google search suggestions. So, for an example, you go onto Google, put a few keyword in, and Google will automatically populate what kind of relevant search was there for this specific term. So if I search, let's say a good restaurant, okay, let's say a shrimp restaurant, so it will say shrimp restaurants XYZ. I think you guys get the idea. Pricing standard is something which many entrepreneurs don't focus on specifically when setting up their businesses. This means the amount of risk you take and what is the reward expected to achieve out of it. So you need to find out if the market can actually pay you enough so that you can sustain as a business, and is it actually worth pursuing. You can read a lot of blogs, watch even video logs, join groups on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can be associated with a physical group or an online group. You can also do even surveys like quantitative surveys or qualitative surveys. Okay, so quantitative surveys are basically just online surveys that you push to people, and qualitative surveys is mostly like a one-on-one interaction with a prospect or your ideal target audience, just to understand their pain point. You can also use the social media advertisement tools because it gives you a lot of insights about a potential audience. All social medias, if you want to do promotion, it gives you audience insights. It gives you demographics, psychographics, interests, what is the volume of people in a specific location. You don't have to subscribe for an ad. You can just use the tool just to analyze the market and the potential, the number of users online, depending upon what your product is. You can also use Google Keyword Planner. I think it's a pretty nice tool. It gives you insights on CPC, cost per click. Okay, it also gives you a better understanding of how much this specific key term is accessible and used on a specific demographic or geography. It helps you to filter and narrow things down, and these are all free resources, guys. You don't have to spend any sort of money. You just have to be analytical while approaching it. You can speak to your niche. Very interesting. If you know someone who is an ideal fit as a target audience on what you're trying to deliver, just speak to them, have a conversation, try to understand their pain points, observe them. I think observation also helps. Observing your ideal customers' behavior, on how they act, behave in a present environment, also gives you a lot of insights, whether your product would be a good fit, whether how they feel about it, what kind of solution are they looking at, stuff like that. So this is about niching. I hope that gives you guys a good perspective. I'm just going to invite a few people up. Thank you, Just, Tiffany, and Melissa, for joining our conversation. So I'm gonna start with Melissa. Melissa, do you have anything you like to contribute or any questions you like to ask me?
Say
Melissa?
thank you. This is an excellent topic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. I've learned so much from you speaking for the last 24 minutes. I have like a page full of notes. Thank you so much for all of this information. I truly appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. I'm glad that you are able to get benefit out of it. I think I'm on a rant, to be quite personal, because I didn't plan my guest not to be here, guys. So if you find anxiety and stress in my voice, it's just normal. I'm just trying to go play, going around, just making sure we still have an episode, because today is my season 3 episode 1, and I don't want it to go waste. Plus, I have a lot of my friends, including you guys, who are here, so I'm very very appreciative of that. So I just thank you so much for that, Melissa. I want to say acknowledge Tiffany. She's a very very close friend, same as Melissa and just and Tanya, who has joined. So Tiffany, how are you? And is there anything you like to contribute?
Hello, and you're doing great, Jason. What a wonderful start to season 3, episode 1, and yeah, I've learned a lot in the past 24 minutes as well, and oh, Leslie's coming up as a speaker as well, but it's so true. So when I was starting my radio show, like 7.5 years ago, Tam Talk Radio asked if I wanted to do a psychology show. And the way I can relate to what you're saying is, I said, yeah, they wanted me to have just like a mental health show where people would call in. Uh, Nobody was really calling in consistently. So I started telling or asking people to call in. And then I ended up with guests, and people would always say, well, what's your show about? What's your show about? I'm like, it's a mental health show, but it's a variety of different topics because mental health covers so many things. So they so for those that don't know me, my name's Tiffany Warner, and I host Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, and it's on all podcast and radio and anything. Anyway, so but ending the stigma on mental health was my niche, whatever, however you pronounce it, and finding guests with inspirational stories, exceptional guests with inspirational stories, had to be my thing because nobody quite knew what it was about. Like I had to have a target audience, a target identity, and brand it. And I'm still working on the branding, thanks to Jason. But um, unless we have a specific thing or like specialty, like I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I specialize with, and et cetera, at-risk youth and sexual abuse survivors and marriage and family counseling and so forth. That would be my identity, right? And that's what brings target clients my way. And I think that's what you're saying, is that it's important for us to be able to just identify with one thing so that we have the target audience that wants to listen or to come to you for help or to hire you or that. And
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes
that.
easy for people to just memorize things that way. When you say mental
Mm-hmm.
health, it's like many people do mental health. Like, if you be a little more specific, like people remember it. For an example, Tiffany, when we met and I said, I'm into identity design, you remember it, right? Like, I don't have to explain much. Like, you remember, okay, this is what I do. Okay, now the thing is, when you have something which is pretty mass or for the mass audience, people don't remember it. And what niching does is that it helps you to position yourself in a way that people remember you. And if people remember you, and if you're in the back of their mind, the probability of they reaching out to you for that specific need and you converting that opportunity, you fulfilling that opportunity, and getting benefiting out of it, the chances are actually high, and that's what we are trying to do. So something which you guys probably don't know, Tiffany again is like a family friend to me, and it's actually her birthday today. So happy birthday to you, Tiffany. That's one. And
Thank
again,
you, Jason.
and I have this song which I found
To wish
on.
me a happy birthday. I actually turned a year older yesterday, my time, because it was my birthday, 12 o'clock in India already, and I'm like, don't age me faster, dude. But but also with brand identity, back to that. And thank you for the birthday wish, by the way. I keep seeing them going across my screen from notifications from social media. It's kind of it's just a blessing to have survived another year in whatever our world's going through. But anyway, so one thing about brand identity is you got to put forth a lot of time and effort into taking pictures and making a market for yourself, right, Jason? Lots of pictures and lots of lots of making yourself very much um, put out there that people can recognize, and not only that, but your promos of yourself have to be striking where people might want to stop and look. Melissa, thank you for that happy birthday photo. I noticed it really quick. I do all that anyway. I really know how to log in to Clubhouse, but anyway.
Yeah, I got this song
So
also for you. I'm just gonna play it. Happy birthday, woo-hoo. Happy birthday, woo-hoo. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, woo-hoo. All right, that's the song, and
that was a great way to celebrate my birthday. That just made my day. Thank you all. Thank you for the birthday. I don't know how you guys do that, but thank you so much with the pictures and everything. But that would be a birthday brand design if it was branding of happy birthday, right? Thank you for the song, Jason.
no problem.
But but I gotta tell you, listening to brand identity design and like Jason said, we're very close friends, and I would consider like more like family. But um, it was hard for me to understand what brand identity design really was, even when I first met Jason. And as we go through it, and he's been helping me with my brand identity, knowing what to do and how to remain consistent, but sparkle at the same time, so to speak. And he knows what he's doing, beyond a doubt. the host of the show. And there's no anxiety or anything in your voice. Like, you're doing great. If anything, I think I've taught him how to brand identity design mess up. When your guest doesn't show up, how to not freak out. But I think you're doing great. But to make yourself a like, you've had guests on before, but like how, like, when you see Pepsi Cola, you know that it's it. Or you think of ET when you see Reese's Pieces or whatever. Things just are just identified with one another, and finding a way to be able to do that, to make yourself stand out, like Ray Ray and her pink Ferrari, like Melissa, education specialist, Leslie, health, and mood affects the health and in your gut. That people know, like, what people do when you get to know them because of their brand. Am I right, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for that, Tiffany. I appreciate your love and support, including everybody else who's here. I wanted to just acknowledge Just, Tanya, Leslie, Amy, and Ray Ray. Thank you guys for being here. Just, how are you? It's been a really, really long time. Great to see you. And do you have anything you like to contribute, about this discussion we're having? I think Just might be away. Just, can you hear us? Please flash your mic if you're available. Okay, so let's actually move on to Tanya. Tanya, thank you so much. How are you? Great to see you. Is there anything you like to contribute to this discussion?
Hey, it's been so long, Jason. How are you
Hi,
doing,
Tanya.
first of all? Hello, Tiffany. Hello, everybody. Jason, thank you for welcoming me up on stage, and great even to all these new little things that Clubhouse. I think I said it into your chat room earlier in the month. All these new little apps that Clubhouse actually has. It's quite cool being able to to join join all these new little things. But equally, it's really good to be able to just go ahead and have like a really cool network to be able to invite people directly to, right? So excellent stuff. And yeah, as you know, this is like one of my favorite topics because obviously what I do, I'm a branding specialist, and I literally help small, well, I guess medium business owners to literally go ahead and stand out from their competition. And the idea of niching down is super key, and I especially encourage anybody that I work with, or equally anybody that I speak to find a way of literally speaking to that target audience, because what it does, it allows you to literally just be on a common ground with them, right? I think the more and more you know about that specific person that you are trying to target, and that's not to ever say that you're ignoring everybody else, but it is literally helping you to focus on that one person for the time being, because the more and more you get to just focus that message, is the more and more you get to literally build a proper relationship. And I think a lot of the time, as business owners, we forget about that part. I say we, some people out there forgetting about that part. And it's a super crucial point, an element that everybody should be aware of. It's all about that relationship building. You've got to make sure that you have that commonality factor to be able to talk to somebody, even when you're not physically there, but even whether it be through your social media assets or your website assets, all that kind of stuff. I always call them like your talking tools. The minute you get to have that sort of niched messaging directed to them, is the minute that they actually get to understand that you understand them. So, Jason, you know me, I love all this kind of a topic, and it is super key to be able to niche down. And even like when I talk to people now, I've now sort of, niche it down even further. What about those business owners? For me, it's about the time poor business owners, the people who are literally losing their focus because they don't know where to start or how to make sure that they boost their visibility in the best possible kind of a way. And because I know that, I then know how to talk to them directly. And equally, that's how I encourage my clients to just be able to make sure that they equally know their audience as well, like really well. Like, are they women? Are they men? What kind of industry are they working in? All that kind of stuff. And I think yeah, just having all those aspects and assets underneath your tool belt or in your tool belt is just super key to have, because as I said, it just helps you to talk to your audience all the more better and be able to relate and build on that relationship all the more better. So yeah, that's me, Tanya, and I'm done speaking.
I love that, Tanya. Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree with you 100%. Having that narrow focus and narrow target audience just helps you to communicate better uh, in the event. See, and it's not necessary, guys, that once you figure out a target niche, that means it's engraved on the stone and you can't switch or move into other directions. It just helps you to focus. Now, if you don't find it to be a good niche, you can always regroup and try something else. It gives you the flexibility to move into different directions. Now imagine the amount of money you would end up saving if you have a smaller segment of audience you were focused on in comparison to a mass market. And that's one of the reason why everybody says that niching helps. Another point which I also want to make is that if the market does not, if the market does not really have somebody who is actually doing what you're doing, okay, then it's okay to generalize. I feel that if there is nobody doing what you're doing, it's okay to generalize and be in that market. But at the same time, if there are too many people doing the same thing what you're doing, and if you don't want to compete on price, then it's better to differentiate, and that differentiation factor really helps. So thank you so much for that contribution, Tanya. I really, really appreciate it. Let's actually hear from Just. Just please flash your mic if you are available. He had a little bit of technical glitch. Okay, Just nice to see you
Just in
once.
time.
How are you, Just? And is there anything you like to contribute to this discussion?
Yeah, definitely. I'm great, Jason. And echoing what others have said, no stress in your voice whatsoever. It just feels like this is the way it was supposed to be from the beginning. Um, and that sort of leads to the point I was going to make, which is, there's a hidden layer to brand identity and especially to niching down that comes way before any visual aspects or any kind of marketing aspects. And that's authenticity and effectiveness. You were talking about that adoption cycle, and when you talk about those alpha users and beta users and early adopters, those folks latch on to your brand and to what you do because of your authenticity and your effectiveness. If you're not achieving that, if you're just doing flashy marketing, then you're really just kind of a churn and burn type business. You're always seeking new clients, not because you want to grow, but because you're replacing people who've left, because you've missed out on that. And just as excuse me, I apologize. I forgot who it was that was speaking a minute ago. Tanya, actually, just
Tanya,
as Tanya
yes.
was talking about in resonating with your audience, that's part of that authenticity and effectiveness. And especially when you're in a really crowded marketplace, before you've decided how you're going to niche down, you're competing with a lot of others. And a good majority of those folks don't have that authenticity, right? They're just selling something. And so they're not really putting in the work on the background, on the foundation. And that's going to inform what happens in the end when you create sort of that visual identity and what you're known for. And also, as a business owner, you can trick yourself into thinking that you are more successful or effective than you are, because if you're targeting a broad audience, those folks are much more broadly receptive to things. And so they're going to take almost any message that you give them if it's flashy enough. And you think that you're doing well, but when you kind of look back, you can see that a lot of people drop off and whatnot if they're not matched up with your message and with the thing that you're providing. So I think that hidden layer is super critical, to have some type of authenticity and sort of a compass for yourself. And when you stick to that, it doesn't really matter what niche you go into or what audience you're serving, as long as you have kind of that wayfinding. This is just, I'm out.
Oh, love that, Just. Thank you so much. So nice to hear you. after quite a long time, and I appreciate this contribution as well. I totally agree with authenticity. Your brand, while you're developing your brand, you have your own values. You have your beliefs, okay, and you want to stick to it. You want to be true to that and stick with it, because that's what makes you uniquely you as a company, and you don't want to jeopardize that for anything which is out there. Okay, stick to it, and people who resonate with that will approach you. All you have to do is, and see, when you do niching and positioning, when you do all these things, people expect immediate results. It just takes while, because being able to discover you from this large pool of audience is a little challenging. So when you do these marketing, so it's possible you may have to do a couple of them, and you have to strategize it, in different ways, just to figure out how it goes. What I can truly tell you is that, once you specialize in a niche, once they find you, they will stick to it. I get at least 2 to 3 phone calls every month from bigger marketing agencies in India as well as abroad, asking me advice on which direction you can go, okay, with this identity project. They feel lost, confused, and they want my opinion. Okay, I find it strange because I'm not even, like I don't even have an education, like those folks. I didn't even go to design school. I learned all these things by myself. What it tells me is that your specialized focus helps you to have a better understanding of certain things. Like you can see a problem which the other person is unable to see or express. Okay, now this is not me bragging about my expertise in identity design. I'm just saying, is that just people would admire your opinion, and they see value in it, and they would reach out to you. They know exactly who to reach out if they want a solution to this specific problem, and that's what I am targeting, and that's what I recommend you to also do. I want to welcome Amy to the stage again, a close friend. So nice to see you, Amy. How are you? And is there anything you like to contribute to this discussion? Please flash your mic if you're available. Amy. Yeah, thank
Hi,
you.
Jason. Good morning, everyone. Jason, I apologize. I'm going to be listening in. I'm at the office today, but I won't be able to speak much. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you so much for
All
that.
right. But I will be listening in.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, Amy. Thank you so much for that. So I just wanted to welcome Leslie. Leslie, I'm so sorry. I think the PTR order got shifted out as I refreshed. So thank you so much for your patience. Leslie is a very close friend of mine. We have helped her in developing her brand also partially, slightly confused, and I think we gave out a little clarity to help her out. So she's very close, and I really love what her business is doing. She's a bio strategist, and she's into the health and functional space. So Leslie, if you're available, please flash your mic. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, hello, Jason. Yes, I'm en route to another meeting. But before, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me up. Tiffany, wishing you such wonderful birthday, wishes for a happy and healthy year. And
Yay,
yeah,
thank you.
I haven't really been on Clubhouse because business ventures, just new collaborations, and it's taking me off of Clubhouse. So I just want to say hello to everybody and finding really, like you were saying, your true authentic self, because we all have our own stories. And that's the beauty of social media and finding who we resonate with, because we're not going to attract everybody in the world. The people that we attract are the people that we can help in our journey, especially for me in health and wellness and balance in life, and just being yourself, pursuing your passions, your dreams and goals, and never giving up. And with that, I will pass the mic back to you, Jason. Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody.
Hey, thank you so much for that, Leslie. Always nice to hear from you. Leslie, Tiffany, myself, and who else? Cook. We have a private group which we chill. I don't know what the hell we do, but we just have fun. But it's
We
a,
group chat and talk bullshit.
I love you guys.
yeah. So I just wanted to acknowledge Ray Ray. Thank you so much, Ray Ray. How are you? So nice to see you. After quite a while, we have not really spoken. I will surely connect. If you're available, please flash your mic. Is there anything you like to contribute?
Sure, I would like to say happy birthday to Tiffany and happy Win
Thank
Win
you.
Wednesday to everyone. And so delighted to hear uh, creative talent being rise towards the future. So. And should I add to? I don't think you could ever. I know I always have this problem with design and like with logos and identification. It's very hard to niche down to me personally because I don't know. I was when you were saying it and how to narrow it down. I was thinking, is it the difference between living in New York City and not in the same state? Because in New York, sometimes you could be busy on one thing, you have to drop it and go to another thing. You have to research and do things on certain days. So I always feel, yes, you can niche down, but it depends on how many minutes, how many segments. So I deal with it a different way than most people, and a lot of people don't deal with, only it's very few people that do it that way. Like I heard Evan Carmichael, he does his totally different, his niche and down. And no, he doesn't go the Seth Gordon way, and he doesn't go the Gary Vaynerchuk way. He doesn't go my way. He goes the Evan way. So I think niche and down can't always be scientifically factual. I think you have to do it, modify it towards your personality in a way. So, like Evan, for instance, he always, because I met him, his group, his wife, everyone, they're from Canada, and he was saying how he doesn't niche down. He just does it on days. So he might do, because his brand is more videos and he writes and stuff. So he might do videos just on one day, him and his crew. Then he might write. Then he might do this. So it's niching it, but it's to everybody has a different way of niching. So it's very difficult for me to, even though I went to school and I always, try to understand why you should do it, but it's very complicated because we're all different. And I think you have to pick, like I noticed that you picked Seth Gordon, and I noticed that you picked I forgot his name, Simon.
Simon.
Right. I noticed that you placed them. You tend to like their. I always think you have to look at the rounder scientific picture of what all that you consume in order to niche down. And everybody has their own individual style. That's how I feel about it. I don't think it's a scientific formula. I don't think it's going to ever be a formula because some days you're going to be doing writing. Some days, you're going to be writing your customers. You're going to be emailing your customers. You're going to be doing videos towards your brand, your customer. So it's very difficult to get in that mindset for me personally. I'm not saying everybody has to do it, but I think it's your style. And I think that's what a lot of people miss in niching down. And I'm Ray Ray. And just in case you didn't notice, I'm in a hot pink Ferrari and I'm parking. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that, Ray Ray. I appreciate your contribution. So, so guys, that's what we wanted to speak about. Now, I also wanted to share a bit of insights on positioning. So, positioning, Annalie's explanation. Okay, let me just bring that slide up. So, what Annalie says about positioning. Okay, so okay, let me just shift my slides. Okay, so she states the goal with positioning is to occupy a place in people's heart and mind and to eliminate your competition. That's what positioning is about. In marketing terms, I think in marketing world, I think positioning is is a process of creating a distinct mental position or a unique image of a product or a service in the mind of your customer. I think it's pretty much the same, maybe just complex words. in comparison with other products or brands which already exist in the marketplace. Now, brand positioning is one of the most important aspect when it comes to brand creation. Okay, many marketers and designers would agree to me. Positioning is broadly classified into three types. One is functional, second is symbolic, and the third one is experiential. Now, functional, this is used when a brand or a product provides solution to a problem and provides benefits to a customer. It focuses on function, benefits, utility that it gives to the customer. That's what functional is. Symbolic, on the other hand, this is useful for creating a brand image, which helps to create a brand equity, a sense of social belonging, ego identification. It's when a customer has affection or social connection, ego identification, etc. A good example would be, those expensive cars like, Mercedes or Rolls Royce. It just gives you a symbolic image. The third one is experiential. This creates sensory and cognitive simulation of the mind of the customers. It's also one of the basics of the experiences which the customer can relate to. Now, a company can over time decide to change the way how people perceive a brand, and many of you guys may have seen this. They revamp their logo, slogan, and even update their vision. Vision statement also. Many companies over a course of time achieve their vision and they would want to reposition themselves again because they want to progress towards something else. Okay, now this process is called as repositioning of a brand. It helps you to create a different image. So maybe you guys have observed it. Now, the key factors of positioning strategy is, number one is product features. The product, how the product looks, feels, appears in the marketplace. You can use it to highlight value and create a positioning around it. Second is utility and benefit. As I said previously, it takes into account the value which a product gives, which is needed, which needs are solved of your client. Example would be, let's say, 50% savings in electricity expenses. I think that's a good example of utility and benefits. I think number three, which I want to go ahead with, is use categories. It defines how your product can be used. All the different use case scenarios can be used and creating a compelling positioning around it. Fourth one is occasion. The time, event, occasion when a product can be used. Halloween is a nice example. Christmas, association with an event, and you can create a strong positioning around it. Competitive comparison is the fifth one. Positioning can also be done compared to a competitive offering. This can be done by a lot of existing companies to position themselves so that they have a better point of parity or a point of differentiation to create better positioning. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it. There's this is a very cool thing which I found on Wikipedia, I think a few months back, which speaks about point of parity, PARITY, and point of differentiation. So I would highly recommend you guys to actually explore this on Wikipedia because it's super, super cool. Point of parity are those elements that are considered mandatory for a brand to be considered as a legitimate competitor in a specific category. In what makes the this is what makes the customer consider your brand along with a competitor's brand. That's what point of parity means. An excessive degree of differentiation would cause goods or services lose its standard, but not having differentiation that would not benefit businesses as well. So, in order to avoid excessive differentiation, adopting a point of parity would be the solution. So I'm just reading out stuff, guys, which I jotted down. I'm being very blunt and honest with you. So I would recommend you to read this a little more. I'm also learning simultaneously, and I think this gives out a lot of information. Now, there are a few examples of positioning which I jotted down. So, let's say we speak about an aspirational brand. So, I think Nike is a good example because it speaks about just doing it, very aspiring, directed towards athletes. Let's say emotional. Okay, if we speak about
Uh,
it, yeah,
the Nike
yeah.
picture, just do it. The picture that you sent through,
So, so
and
I
then
know why
Nike
she's
will
laughing
just
because
do it.
I remember,
A
finding
condom
out a
wrapper.
condom wrapper with Nike's image, and we keep bullshitting on that group if you remember, guys. So I sent out that picture. I was like, guys, a nice strong marketing by Nike. so, so thank you.
It was hilarious.
So the next thing which I wanted to say was emotional. So let's talk about an emotional brand. I think Coca-Cola is a nice example of being an emotional brand because they kind of lean on to happiness. Whenever I see this marketing message, it's always about happiness, people smiling, stuff like that. If there is something like price base or heavy emphasized on price, quality, I think Rolls Royce is a nice example. Trust, it delivers excellence, stuff like that. If I think of problem solution, a good example would be, let's say, you have dandruff. Okay, you want to have dandruff free hair. I don't remember any other brand apart from Head and Shoulders which was able to communicate that message. Like, if I think of dandruff, I think I would go to Head and Shoulders by default. For example, when we speak about toothpaste, how we have Colgate in mind. I'm just saying an example, something similar. If the so Colgate would be a nice example for benefits, like it prevents cavity. If you have bad breath, I think Colgate is a really cool example. So I wanted to pause there because on season 3 onwards, I have made a decision that I am not gonna actually rant and extend the show to 90 minutes. We're gonna break it down and come back to the 60-minute mark. So I think we started off and we are about to reach the 60-minute mark. So I want to wrap it there, and going forward, all my shows would be scheduled in that fashion. It will be broadcasted on Clubhouse and LinkedIn simultaneously. Okay, and we will hope for the best, and we will try to wrap it up within 60 minutes. I wanted to personally thank each and everybody for being here. I just wanted to get final thoughts from people on stage. So let's start with Tiffany. Do you have anything you like to share towards the end before we wrap up, Tiffany?
No, great show, especially whoever was supposed to be on. I hope that they're okay. Um, and it just shows how many friends that you do have that just kind of like wake up and, oh, Jason's on, and I'm just going to put my phone next to my computer and kindly listen to this show, and then I'm on like, oh shit, I'm on because your guest didn't show up. Trying to blow my nose and clear my voice and get ready to talk. You gotta love a lot of love and support, and even if we're not experts on the topic, we can relate in some form of manner. That because you are the expert, and we can just ask questions and give some feedback, even if it's not pertinent or expert advice to exactly the topic. But most everyone that's on here is an entrepreneur of some sort, where we can at least even share our setbacks and things of that nature and how to get through them. And I know from being a live radio host for almost 8 years, when your guest doesn't show up, it's horrible. Um, and to have people just step in because you don't want to know, you just don't want to rant, like what you call it, or just improv, I would call it, for 60 minutes, like not knowing what to talk about. Like it's happened to me before. And it's put you in a state of panic because nobody wants, radio silence. And if it's a topic or somebody coming on the show about something that you don't know exactly what they're talking about, then it could lead into a panic. And I think you did great. I just want to congratulate you on that.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there's a lot to do with watching you do your show, so a lot of
yeah, because I
inspiration.
mess up a lot. Live radio, you have to love live radio because you can't predict it, because I get live callers, I get live chat comments. You can't structure that, and you never know which angle it's going to go, or if the microphone's going to work on the guest, or the lighting, or like I had to do a replay last Friday because lightning hit the radio station in Tampa Bay, and the station was off. Like, so it's like you just never know what to do, but it's how we handle a crisis that defines our character most of the time, and just roll with it. We have to adapt to change. I know that not everything is going to be perfect, but being able to laugh at ourselves sometimes makes it good, and to be like, oh well, shit happens, but we're just going to do the best with what we can. And but with what you're saying with the brand identity, is as long as we've got that in check and people know that we've got our ducks in a row, and that it doesn't always happen and we can't handle everything. We are not in control of lightning hitting a radio station, or other people not showing up when they promised, or whatever it is. um to to just go with it, and the show must go on. People are here to listen, and sometimes it's like a blessing that I enjoyed listening to you today more than I probably would have enjoyed your guest. So just saying, could have been like we could have just dodged a bullet there. And
But
thank you
my
for the birthday wishes.
Yeah, absolutely. But my guess is super cool. She just had a little mix up with the schedule, and because she
No,
is in
I'm saying I'm
Sweden.
glad that she's okay,
Yeah.
but I'm making a silver lining. I'm glad that, I mean, listening to you, what you say rant was just as enjoyable as whoever your guest would have been. So
Well, thank you
it
so
was
much
a
for
great
that,
show.
Tiffany. I mean, if you
Yeah.
guys would have actually heard my initial seasons, like the first time when I started it, I would have been shit scared to be even reached this far. I would have got into a panic mode, and I don't know, maybe ended the room like, fuck you, like I can't do this. But I think eventually, when you practice it, you become
Yeah,
calm.
yeah, and you watch me mess up so many times. You're like, "How'd you do that?" I'm like, "I don't care. Just gotta go with it." You're like, "Well, if you can mess up and not look stupid that many times, I guess I can too."
Yeah,
Tiffany
absolutely.
Warner taught Jason how to mess up with grace. It's great.
Yeah, I want to personally, just thank Karen. Karen joined us on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Cindy Lou, Mark, Bernice, and Brandon, L, and Sudarshan. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Let's actually hear from Just, and we're going to take final thoughts and, wrap this up. So, Just, do you have any thoughts you like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it was a great show. It was a solid show today, and even with that little hiccup, and it's a super interesting topic. So I'm actually looking forward to when you bring your guest back on, because I know you will. I think we get out of these things what we put into them, and I felt like you did a fantastic job of just pivoting and going with it. The other thing is, just for you to know, Jason, you've built up over these 3 seasons a huge cachet. Your integrity has an effect on all of these people that join you here. And so when something like this happens, we're all ready to come in and contribute however we can, and that's because of who you are and how you've treated us. So appreciate you, and appreciate the group, and happy birthday to Tiffany, and hope everybody has a fantastic weekend.
And I couldn't agree more with what you just said. It's like we're just ready to jump on board because that's what he would do for us, and he's done that for me before. Like, where the technical difficulties on the live radio show, I can't hear my guest, or I can't see them or something virtually, and I'm on live radio, and he just says, like, messages in the chat, send me the link, and he comes on virtually in his pajamas and stuff.
Thank
He's like,
you.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Like, I was kidding about the pajamas, but the
No,
time
no.
difference. I mean, like, literally, it's 10 p.m. his time when I'm on at noon. So he's just, there, and always, like, willing to go above and beyond for his friends, and it's one of the things that is just admirable. That's why um, you've got so many supporters, Jason.
Yeah, I appreciate that very, very much.
And
And
you made my birthday a special day already, and even yesterday, like technically it's your birthday in India, and I'm like, stop it, because I am not a year older yet. Although I'm looking at it like, I mean, to be able to say I survived a year after what everything is going on in the world, like the pandemic and the Ukraine and all sorts of things that people are suffering, and I can say I'm a year older. I'm definitely getting my self care done though. I'm gonna get some of my hair, nails done so I can take those pictures Jason's been bugging me about for brand identity. Get a little touch up on Botox, and I think when people,
I,
you know, I have no
I just want to
filter.
be
I don't
clear.
care
I
what
don't
that.
ask my clients to do Botox. I just tell her.
No, no, no. This is for me. I don't look. I have no filter nor shame in anything I do. If I'm gonna do anything, whatever, I'm not gonna be ashamed of it. And I live by that motto. Don't do anything that if people found out you were doing, then don't, and you would be embarrassed about it, then don't do it. Um, but because I get caught for everything, and then or accidentally spill. I don't know. I don't care. Anyway, but it would be my beauty day, and that's for me. That's what I want to do. Because, and I think that also, this is just off topic, but I think it's kind of funny that people are like, so how old are you going to be? And I think women always have it wrong. People have it wrong. They say usually like, oh, they're so afraid to say 40 because they're stuck at 39, let's just say, whatever. But I'm starting to tell people I'm 10 years older. I'm like, hey, I'm 52 or 50, whatever. And they're like, you look great for your age. Because you say it younger, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, it's time to see that. You look great. You say it 10 years, 5 or 10 years older, they're like, no way. You look amazing for your age. I'd rather that reaction, like just age myself a little and have people be like, no way are you that old, than people wondering if I'm younger. I think I think that's just
Hey,
my
hey,
I
Karen,
don't know.
if you want to
Body
come
type.
up, just raise your hand. I would be happy to bring you up. Go ahead, Tiffany. Sorry.
Anyway, I just thought that was just an observation I've made that people have it wrong. So everybody, I'm in my 50s and happy, and I'm not really though, but that look great for my age, right?
Okay. Hi. So I'm in Perth, Australia. So it's like 1 o'clock in the morning here.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Hey, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. It's early morning, Karen. So, guys, if you're wondering where is this voice coming from, so it's actually coming from LinkedIn. So, Karen, thank you so much for being this early, and thank you so
I
much for.
was wondering, and I love the accent. I could listen to her speak all
My
day, and
accent. Oh, really? Yeah. I just finished unpacking because I've just had to move back in with my mum at 49 years of age. It's a bit sad, but yeah. So yeah, no, I don't do Botox, but I have no judgment against anyone that decides that they want to. And I never hide my age. It was just my birthday just recently. And I'm sorry I missed most of the show, but I will catch up on it. And I'm wanting to transfer, I guess, from being an accountant to doing more marketing and stuff because I'm more of an entrepreneur. And I've just been doing a radio show down under. It's actually iplradio.org.au and it gets um, broadcast internationally. So, yeah, that's been exciting for me too.
good for you. That's awesome.
Thank
That
you.
is really
Congrats.
lovely, Karen.
You did give her
Congratulations.
the round of applause thing, Jason.
Oh, you know what? Actually, my sound pads are actually full with other effects, so I don't have that actually. I'm so sorry, Karen.
That's okay. That's
I'll share
okay.
with you what I use on my radio. You get the bell.
Well, nice,
Yeah,
nice, nice to
no,
actually hear you, and thank you so much for being here. I would have the show uploaded on Spotify and Apple and Google and other platforms in let's say an hour or
okay.
two from now. It's just me speaking, having a monologue, and my friends supporting me, such as yourself and others which you hear from Clubhouse. So thank you for that. So I think it's about time to wrap
Thank
this
you for
up.
having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's so lovely to hear your voice. Thank you so much for being here. Tiffany, thank you. Just and whoever else who joined our conversation, thank you very much. And special thanks to Mark for not only being present on LinkedIn and also on Clubhouse. Thank you, brother. Appreciate your love and support. So we're gonna wrap this up. I'm so glad we were able to wrap this up in less than 90 minutes. So I think we went to 70. I think we are getting there. So thank you. Talk to you guys soon next week, Wednesday at 12 Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be having a conversation with Melissa. We're going to have something really cool next week. So, Wednesday at 12 Eastern Standard Time.
Night.
Yeah. Birthday. Bye.